All right, welcome back to Bleck and AZ's Fantasy Hour here on WEBR every Wednesday night from 6 to 7. You can also find us Sunday morning on WLVL from 11 to 12. And we are also on Instagram and YouTube at Bleck and AZ. Check us out on socials, posting a lot more content on there and full episode recaps as well on the YouTube. So if you're listening, getting ready for your fantasy drafts. It is August. We do have a game on Thursday, which I'm actually kind of excited for.
Yeah, they announced Carson Beck, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited for it. No matter who's playing the Hall of Fame game, I'm a sicko. I love it. I watch it all. I mean, I'll watch anything if NFL related. But yeah, Carson Beck, somebody that normally I wouldn't be that high about, but I do got a couple shares in Dynasty, and he might end up being the quarterback that starts the most games as a rookie this year. Yeah. Kind of funny enough as that is.
Yeah. Unique situation for him, too. I mean, drafted high at the first pick of the third round.
Yeah, higher than maybe people thought, you know?
Yeah.
And just given his age and experience, a little more pro-ready than most guys, and just the fact that he plays on probably the worst team in the NFL, that helps out a little bit, too.
For sure.
So, yeah, we're going to see some Carson Beck versus Kenny Pickett on Thursday. Can't wait.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah. Last week's episode, we touched on our quarterback and tight end rankings moving into the draft season. And this week, we're going to be talking about running backs, which is probably the hardest group to analyze in every season. The running backs, if you've played fantasy football before, you know, are probably the most important position. They are hard to find. When you have a good running back, don't ever let them go. It's tough. It really is. There really is not that many elite number one running backs. But when you can find some of those guys in the middle or later rounds that hit, that's really how you win your leagues.
Yeah, and you say it all the time. I mean, things change really fast in the NFL, and at the running back position specifically, like the volatility. You know, one injury can completely derail one fantasy team season and completely make another, just with whether it's a waiver wire ad or just drafting a backup that finds a lead role and then suddenly emerges as a top 24, top 20, top 15 back.
Yeah, just even like the handcuff strategy alone, like the idea of drafting a player just hoping, not even hoping, but you know, under the understanding that if there were to be a situation or an injury where he was to be put into a larger role, just knowing how valuable he could become so quickly, that doesn't really happen in other positions in fantasy. So that alone just says, you know, enough about running backs, I think.
For sure.
Starting off, we do have some tiers here. I actually have more notes than usual this week.
Let's go. It's a fun week. I've been like preparing for this show like all week, and it's been a lot of fun.
I actually did my notes the night before instead of an hour before the show, so that helps out. They are still on some fridge magnet notepads, but that's okay. Starting out in my first tier of running backs, these are the top running backs in the league, guaranteed, barring injury, have a top 5 finish basically. League winners, first round picks. I have Bijan, Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, and CMC in that order.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I agree with that being like the top 4. I don't know if I even want to put anybody else in the class with Robinson and Gibbs. I do kind of think that they separate themselves from the rest.
You have Bijan first too?
Personally, I have Gibbs first, but Bijan just got paid that monster contract, so that's green light, wheels up. Bijan to the moon. I do expect Gibbs to get his contract extension before the league, the regular season starts, but just a personal preference. It's splitting hairs between the two of them.
I think you could make a case for either, obviously, and there's no wrong choice, really. I think for me, personally, what it comes down to is that I think that there are more circumstances around Gibbs that he's dependent on. Mm-hmm. So, like, let's say, like, you know, if Jared Goff were to get hurt, you know, that would really hurt Jahmyr Gibbs a lot, I believe.
Yeah.
Whereas with Bijan, it's like, doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback at this point. Doesn't really matter what's going on around him. I think there's a little more security there with him. And I know that they both kind of lost their, like, backups from last year. Mm-hmm. But I think that really could impact Bijan more. He had more catches. I just like him better as a player. And really, what's been the biggest difference between him and Gibbs the past couple years is the touchdowns.
Yeah.
And if Bijan isn't losing 5, 6, 7 touchdowns to Tyler Algier this year. That could be all the difference for me personally.
Yeah, and for Gibbs, I mean, David Montgomery was a touchdown vulture in his own right. So, I think that there's room for an uptick for Gibbs as far as his touchdowns and even just yardage production.
If he gets more touchdowns, I mean, I think dude had like 38 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. I mean, if he goes over that, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, if I were in a position where I had maybe like 6 leagues or so, 6 or 7 leagues where I had the first pick overall, I'd probably split it between the two of them. I don't think that I feel strongly enough about Gibbs that I would just take him first.
Yeah, there's definitely no. I mean, I'd rather have the second overall pick, so I don't have to make the choice. Honestly,
right. But yeah, just like for the sake of ranking these guys, they really are just 1A, 1B. They're both 1As. I really can't separate them from each other, but I can separate them from the rest of the field.
I could put them in their own tier if I really wanted to.
That's kind of how I see
it that.
Yeah.
But I think these 4 are the clear top 4, and will all be first round picks.
Yeah.
I also have Jonathan Taylor over CMC personally, just because of what we saw him do in the first half of last season, and news from Daniel Jones is looking optimistic. So,
not to mention, there's another 49er going down every day.
Bleck's starting to believe
in
the electric substation. It looms. It shows no mercy.
Doesn't.
Unfortunately. We all know CMC's ceiling, and that is the true RB1, which he was last year. And I do still believe, obviously, he has that. It's just the age and a lot of the other injuries, and it's getting concerning over there in San Fran for sure. And like I said, just seeing what Jonathan Taylor was able to accomplish the first 10 weeks of last year, if he can get back to even like 80, 90% of that, I mean, he does have true RB1 upside as well. So, that's just my personal preference, but you could organize that however you'd like.
For sure.
And then going into my next tier break, I have, what's that, 6 guys there? Yeah, these guys are all RB1s as well, with dark horse chances of being the RB1 in fantasy. And I actually have James Cook on top of that at number 5.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, last 2 seasons, I think he's got a total of 31 touchdowns.
That sounds right. I mean, I know he had 18 like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, he was the touchdown leader. Last year was the rushing leader.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 12 or 13 last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I mean, absolute ceiling, crazy ceiling upside.
Yeah, he's just, workhorse running back in the top offense in the league that loves to run the ball. I mean, if it wasn't for Josh Allen having 15 rushing touchdowns himself, we might be seeing upwards of 20 from James Cook, honestly.
Right.
Doesn't really have any competition. The
OC that led him to those crazy seasons is now the head coach, so there's no better head coach to help utilize.
Yeah, I don't think anybody loves James Cook more than Joe Brady, so that might be even more beneficial for him. If he can start to see some more catches too on top of that, sky's really the limit for James Cook.
Yeah.
They do have his ADP at about 12.5 on Sleeper, so he is going at that turn there. And that sounds about right to me. I think James Cook is a great player, and I'm glad that he's getting some recognition in the fantasy world.
For sure.
At 6, I have Omarion Hampton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have him at 7. I think I'm buying into the Kenneth Walker hype. Kenneth Walker
up there.
At 6. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily. So I'm kind of also leaning into the position that you laid out maybe last week, that you're taking Brock Bowers in the second round. But if Brock Bowers isn't there and Kenneth Walker is, I think it's kind of a smash. I mean, we saw what he can do as the lead running back in the playoffs last year when Charbonnet went out, and it was just 100-yard game, multi-touchdown game after another. And that's what Kansas City's paying him to do. We have Pat Mahomes coming back from a pretty significant injury where they spent a lot of third downs last year converting with Pat Mahomes' legs, and I just don't really see that being the case. Granted, they'll have many other ways to try to attack third down and pick up their first downs, but I think Kenneth Walker is in line for a massive workload.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do have Kenneth Walker a little lower down my list, but I do love Kenneth Walker at the end of the second round where he's going right now, and I think you could easily justify taking him in the middle or even closer to the top. Yeah. I do really like Hampton. I know we talked about that offense a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more going into wide receiver week as well.
Yeah.
But just the upside with Mike McDaniel and a healthy offensive line, and even what he was able to accomplish in the second half of last year when he was healthy, he actually caught the ball a lot more than I expected, and I think if that continues to, really, his upside is pretty crazy. Moving down my list, somebody that I didn't realize I liked so much is Ashton Genty, honestly. I have him at 7.
Yeah.
Really, pretty much no competition in the backfield. They don't really have a lot of options in the passing game.
Right.
I think that team would really love to just kind of control the clock, run the ball, play defense. That's how they're going to win games, really. I don't know how many they will win, but if they are going to win games, that's how it's going to get done. And I didn't realize, kind of the volume he had last year. He caught a lot of passes.
Yeah.
He finished his RB11, which I thought he was lower than that, but apparently not. With Clint Kubiak coming over, an improved offensive line, improved offense in general, I see him easily finishing in the top 10 just based off volume alone. And the talent is just too good to pass on as well.
Yeah.
No tread on the tires in the NFL, really. I love Ashton Genty. He moved up my list a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I do like him. But in the spot, I'm taking Kenneth Walker over Hampton, and I'm taking Hampton over Genty. But it is tight between those three after Cook. I feel like Cook does kind of separate himself at number 5. But yeah, 6, 7, 8 for me is kind of a little bit of a muddy area.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I almost made a case for Genty over Hampton. I really just do like Genty a lot.
That's fair.
I just don't think there's any other weapons on that team other than Brock Bowers. And for that alone, I just think the volume is just pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And moving down here a little bit, I have Saquon at 8. I have A-Chain at 9, so he dropped. And Sleeper, they have him as RB5. I have him at 9, so that's going down a little bit there.
Yeah.
And then I have Chase Brown at 10.
Cool. So I have Chase Brown at 9. I don't know how we're a little bit off here. Maybe it's Kenneth Walker on your list, but
yeah, I have Kenneth Walker at 12.
Yeah, okay. So Chase Brown at 9, Achane at 10, and Barkley at 11. I think Chase Brown's got kind of the right.
Chase Brown where? 9?
9, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right after Genty, before Achane. I mentioned it a couple episodes ago. I'm not high on Achane. I can understand why. His offense has been significantly downgraded, but he played in a pretty poor offense last year and still managed to put up 11 points per week at a minimum.
It's the catches and the explosiveness.
For sure.
I like A-Chain, don't get me wrong. I do have him as RB9. I just don't like the position he's going in.
Yeah.
Like on Sleeper, he's RB5, and he's
way too
going
high.
12.5 versus James Cook 12.7, so
That's
slightly higher than James Cook, pretty much going at the turn there.
Yeah.
I don't think I could justify taking him at the turn, top of the second, but where I have him ranked, if it were to be the end of the second round, I would definitely consider him because the talent is there, and I think the volume should be as well. And if he can catch another 60, 70 balls, he'll be a good RB1 for sure.
Well, I think maybe not 60, 70 because that's a lot, but I think Chase Brown has the upside to get 40, maybe 50 catches himself in his own right, and he's, similarly no running back competition, no real running back competition. It's his job. He's a 3-down back. It's one of the most explosive offenses in the league. We expect that to be the case as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy. And even when Joe Flacco stepped in, he was still plenty productive.
Yeah, he finished his RB7 last year. He's going as RB10 right now. That's where I have him ranked. And contract year with a lot to prove. I think Chase Brown will be a popular pick at the end of second rounds.
I think Sleeper has him somewhere around running back 12. I'm not sure if you've got that.
RB10.
Okay, RB10. ECR, which is the Fantasy Pros source that we've used for the last couple of weeks, has him at RB7. So they're really high on him. I kind of lean.
I get it. Yeah,
like
you said, just like the explosiveness of the offense alone should justify that draft ranking. But like you said too, it's the if Joe Burrow is healthy thing. His ceiling with Joe Burrow is so high, and while he does still keep a high floor even without Joe Burrow, his ceiling just goes down a little bit. And I don't have him low. I have him as my RB10, which is where Sleeper has him as well. And I think it's fair.
Barkley a little more, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that he's due for a bounce back year. And he finished RB14 last year in what was considered a down year after having, a 2,000-yard season the year prior.
Yeah.
I think that offense should be better this year. They have a new play caller, and I think that they want to get back to running the ball a little more. And I think Saquon should be a huge benefactor of that. And the talent's still there, you can make a case that Saquon is the most talented running back in the league, really, and I wouldn't be that mad at you.
I have him ranked one spot below Achane, but I approached my own rankings through this list of running backs as who would I truly take before the other, and as we're sitting here kind of thinking it over, I would probably take Barkley over Achane, if I'm being honest.
I just think that Saquon has the volume. They have still one of the best offensive lines in the system, in the league. They should have a pretty good offense. They're going to run the ball. Saquon's talent is undeniable. I just like all those things. And, even if in a down year he's RB14, if he can just get a little back to where he was a couple years ago, he might not be a 2,000-yard guy, but I think he could easily finish in the top 10 as running backs. I don't see why not.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
And I feel a little more comfortable with him than some of these other guys. Less questions there for me personally.
Yeah.
So that wraps up my second tier of RB1s, which was Cook, Hampton, Genty, Saquon, A-Chain, and Chase Brown. And then moving down, these are, I would consider probably low-end RB1s with like high-end RB1 upside.
Yeah.
And I start the list off with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry should and could very well be in the higher upper echelon of running backs, but because of his limited pass catching ability, that's what keeps him in this tier. I have him ranked as RB11. Sleeper has him as RB13. He's going in that second, third round turn, and last year he finished as RB8.
Yeah.
And as long as he can stay healthy, he's pretty much a lock for like 15 touchdowns, like 1,500 yards.
Yeah. I mean, the risk with him is very similar to the risk with McCaffrey. It's the age thing. It's the work share
It's
thing.
the age thing, but like McCaffrey also has the injury history, whereas
True.
Derrick Henry doesn't really.
True.
Yeah. Derrick Henry is like the anomaly at the
And
running back
truthfully,
position.
McCaffrey's goes higher because he's got the higher ceiling.
Because
with the pass
he catches
catching.
80 balls.
Exactly,
yeah. If
right,
Derrick Henry caught 50 passes, he'd be RB1
Cheat code.
every year. Yeah.
Absolute cheat code.
Yeah, I love Derrick Henry. I could probably adjust it a little bit here with some of these other guys, but I just think the safety there with Derrick Henry and that offense, because I just know what they're trying to do, and like I said, unless for the first time in his career, basically he has a major injury, Derrick Henry is a lock for 15 touchdowns.
Yeah, I've got him at 12 myself. I can't not rank him as a RB1. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, this tier is like guys that should be like RB1s, maybe like lower end compared to some of these other guys, but again, still strong RB1s that have even more than that. I do have Kenneth Walker at 12. We talked about him a little bit. I know we've talked about him the past couple of weeks. I do like him a lot. He's going at that second, third round turn as well. I think there's a lot of really good guys at that spot right there.
Yeah. Yes.
Like if you start off with a B. John Gibbs, you could get a really strong second option right there, and all of a sudden you have 2 top 10 running backs basically, and that sets yourself up for success down the road. And then 13, I have Kyren. I love Kyren. I'm a big Kyren guy. Every year he's just like too low. And I get it. I mean, he's came into the league as like a 6th round pick. Nobody really talked about him or thought about him. He kind of came out of nowhere. It seems like every year, they're trying to replace him in some one way or another.
It's like fan speculation that we think they're trying to replace him.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really. I mean, they
doesn't seem like Sean McVay's trying to replace him.
Right. They definitely shifted some of the workload to be a little bit more evenly split with Blake Corum. I feel like there was a point in the year, late in the year, where it seemed like they were alternating drives, but he was still just as productive as he had been before that. I mean, at least on like the fantasy stat sheet, when you're looking at how many points he gets you, like that's kind of the bottom line, and he actually like was continuing a pretty high rate of success.
Yeah. I mean, right now on Sleeper, he's ranked as RB15. I have him as RB13. He's going in like the middle of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Last year he finished as RB9. He's probably been a top 10 running back every season.
Yep.
They're the best offense in the league. I mean, if not top 3. I know that they kind of, like you alluded to, have switched over to like more of a little split there, whether it's 50-50 or 60-40 in terms of carries. But Kyren still gets the passing downs. And he still seems to get a lot of the red zone work, which is more important as well. Sure. I love Kyren Williams. I think that he's a really safe option as an RB1. And if you can get someone like that in the 3rd round, I love that spot for him. After that, I have Josh Jacobs at 14.
Yeah, I have Jacobs and Kyren's flipped. So I have Jacobs at 13, Kyren at 14. But yeah, I mean, as long as Josh Jacobs starts the season without any issues, there's no reason for him to not be in contention to be an RB1 at season's end.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is like every year is like a middle, like a 2nd or 3rd, like every year, and every year he like outproduces that spot, and he still goes there.
And he's only like what, 27, 28?
He's a little older. I want to say he's like 29 now, but I don't really see him slowing down, at least not this year. There should be a productive offense. They have been. They've been a very efficient offense. They don't have any like true number 1 options. They don't really have anybody behind him that's threatening for any touches.
Yeah, I mean, even Emmanuel Wilson's on Seattle now, so like
I mean, Marshawn Lloyd hasn't been able to be on the field at all.
Right.
I love Josh Jacobs. I mean, he's guaranteed some of the most volume of any guys in this area, really. I mean, really the only concern is, like you mentioned, some of the off-field issues this offseason, but I don't really expect anything to happen, at least not this year. Could we see an investigation or something down the line, maybe a suspension next year, who knows, but that's all speculation. As of right now, I feel really comfortable taking him there.
Yeah.
Then the last 2 guys I have in this tier, which was kind of hard for me. I have Breece Hall and Javonte Williams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a name that I have that I feel like before you just
Skipped him. I skipped him all the way.
yeah,
I dropped him low.
And you know what? I feel like I am in the same boat. I do have Jeremiah Love at 15, followed by Breece Hall and Travion Henderson, but Javonte Williams at 18. But yeah, I mean, Breece Hall and Javonte Williams are both in better situations than Jeremiah Love. They're both more comfortable floors to roll into your lineups and to feel comfortable starting every single week.
Yeah, I have Jeremiah Love right after in this next tier. He's my RB17. Sleeper has him as RB11.
It's insane.
Yeah, he's going at 19.7 ADP, so like the middle of the second round.
Yeah, no shot. No shot I'm taking him.
I think he's just a popular pick. You know, everybody loves the new rookie. Everybody loves like the new shiny car or whatever. That's, you know, what was third overall. I get it. I mean, he should be guaranteed a high workload, or at least you would imagine given the draft capital. But with the moves they made with Tyler Algier, we already saw what he stole from Bijan these past couple of years. And just the way I don't really expect the offense to be that great. At least not in a way where I expect them to be, you know, leading in a lot of games where they're able to pound the rock and kind of make plays like that. Maybe he, you know, catches some garbage time stuff. I don't know. I just am not as high on Jeremiah Love as, you know, Sleeper and some of these other sites maybe have him.
Yeah, and there is a history of running backs being taken in the top 10 being very fantasy productive in fantasy, however. But I just don't see it with Jeremiah Love. I mean, even Ashton Genty, who we just kind of said, we felt like he had like a bad year or like not up to the expectations.
I mean, he was going
still finishes an RB1.
He was going like in like the end of the first second last year, right? Like that turn last year.
Yes, and Jeremiah Love's not going there, but still, I mean, even like less than a full round difference in cost, like I just don't see the pathway to Jeremiah Love being an RB1 this season, especially with all these other guys that we named ahead of him. I mean, we're getting, you said he's what, 16, 17 on your list?
I have him at 17, yeah.
Like there's 4 guys ahead of him on both of our lists that could easily push for RB1 conversation before you get to Love. Like I don't see it happening for him this year.
So before I wrap, we touch on this next tier a little bit. Breece Hall and Javonte Williams, both guys I like. I really like Javonte Williams. He's ranked as RB19. Last year he finished as RB12. I have him at 16. He's going towards the end of the third round. Actually, was that 38? Was that the fourth round?
Yeah, started the fourth.
Yeah, I think he's got. I mean, he got a contract. That offense, I think we all expect it to be great again. Not really much competition in the backfield. I love Javonte Williams. I think he's a solid RB1 that's getting drafted as like a high-end RB2. That's kind of where I have this tier. So when I wrap that up and I get to my next tier, these are guys that are like high-end RB2s with like RB1 upside potentially. And that's why Jeremiah Love is the top of that list. And then I have ETN, Travion Henderson, and Bucky Irving in that tier as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have Henderson at 17, and I would classify this as the same tier. I might even bump Henderson up because I'm really high on him going into this year. But I have Henderson at 17, Javonte Williams at 18, ETN at 19, and Cam Scatterbo at 20 before Bucky Irving at 21. I do have Bucky Irving dropped a little bit further down my list than even Jeremiah Love is really. But yeah, I'd love to jump in on Travion Henderson. I mean, the dude is primed for a breakout sophomore season. I know there's a lot of questions about the way that he was used in the playoffs, and a lot of that comes down to just like the coach's comfort in his pass protection as a rookie. I think that there's something to be said about playing a 17, 18, 19, 21 game season after, you know, leaving college where it's like a 13 game season. And I have a really good inclination that he's going to pick up a lot of workload. I don't see why they would commit to Ramondre Stevenson when you have at least another 3 years with this guy on your books.
Yeah, no, I agree. In this tier list, I actually have X's next to Jeremiah Love and Bucky Irving because those are guys I personally don't like that much. But I have a star next to Travion Henderson because I do really like Travion Henderson. I think that when given opportunities last year, we saw what his ceiling was. He had a few monster weeks. The draft capital, like you said, kind of going into year 2 here. And then I think another thing, something that we even talked about last week with Drake May, just the fact that we kind of expect a lot more of the Patriots games to be more competitive. For sure. They're not going to be playing weak competition every single week. They're not going to be playing with big leads in the second half. I think that plays into Travion Henderson's favor. and more high-scoring games and games where they're trailing a lot more. I think that type of game script really plays into Travion Henderson, and I think as the season goes on, his role will increase even more, like we saw from last year. And he's a guy that I think in this spot here, he's going at the end of 4th rounds, I think.
Right at that 4th, 5th turn.
I have him as my RB19. Sleeper has him as RB20. Last year he finished as RB21. And if he's able to get even 50, 60 more touches, I think he could easily finish inside the top 20, maybe even top 15 running backs. So that's a guy I really like at the end of 4th rounds. I'll probably have on my team in a couple leagues.
Not if I get him first.
Yeah, unless it's in my dynasty,
Yeah, that's right.
I in this next tier though, I do have Scadaboo at the top, 21. So this next tier, I have 4 guys, and these are like true RB2s that I feel comfortable with.
For sure.
I have Scadaboo at 21. I have David Montgomery at 22, who's really growing on me.
That's fair.
And then I have my guy, DeAndre Swift, at 23, and I have Quinshon Judkins at 24.
Cool. Yeah, same kind of ballpark. I've got Scadaboo at 20 and then Bucky at 21. 22, I have Judkins, then Montgomery, Bishal Tootin at 24, and Swift at 25.
Yeah. I think that we both have Scadaboo in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah.
I think
pretty much right around where ADP, Sleeper, ECR, where all of these sources kind of have them. We're pretty much in agreement with it.
Yeah. He's going around the same spot as Travion Henderson. I like Travion Henderson more for the upside, but when we talk about Scadaboo, we've talked about the Giants a lot this offseason. I think we all expect that offense to take a step. We're all excited about Jackson Dart, and Malik Neighbors is looking healthy. And as long as Scadaboo is healthy, he'll be a big part of that as well. If they can score some more touchdowns, he'll be a big part of that. And I really like everything we saw from Scadaboo. It was a little limited last year. Obviously, he got hurt, but his upside is there, and his workload should be guaranteed as well. I feel really comfortable with him as an RB2 at that spot at the end of the 4th round.
Yeah, I agree. The only real drawback on him as a potential player on your team is just that he's a total party boy. So he might backflip into a chair one day, and that's how you miss your guy. But if you can stay out of that kind of trouble, which, I'm sure they'll do everything that they can, the organization, to prevent that kind of thing from happening. But, healthy on the field, he's a really, really firm, strong RB2 and probably ends up in the top 20.
All 4 of these guys, I have them in this tier because they have, some concerns or questions, I should say. Besides, his wild behavior. I'm not a huge Matt Nagy fan, and Jackson Dart is also going to take his own amount, touchdowns. He had 9 rushing touchdowns last year, and he only played like 12 games. So there's a little bit there. Also, I'm not sure what Scadaboo's receiving upside might be. I'm not sure how they might use Tyrone Tracy. Brian Dable likes to only use one running back, but I'm not sure how they might split that up.
Change.
So that's why I have him there. David Montgomery, someone I said that I'm really starting to like a lot this season.
And he's starting to rise in ADP, I think, too.
Yeah, right now I have him at 22. Sleeper has him as RB23. He's going at pick 56, which is the 5th round?
Yep.
Somebody the Texans specifically targeted. They went out, traded for him, immediately gave him a contract extension. That team's going to play defense and run the ball just as much as anybody in the league.
Yeah, we've discussed it a bunch, that in their opportunities to get in the red zone, he's obviously their first look.
I think Montgomery is a great player. He has been his whole career in multiple different spots now at this point. And then when we look at what Joe Mixon did on the Texans just 2 years ago, I don't see why that is outside of the realm of possibilities for David Montgomery.
Totally agree.
1,200 yards, double-digit touchdowns.
Team spent some capital in the draft on the offensive line. That'll help as well.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of things going his way, and again, in the middle of the 5th round, it's a really solid option as a strong RB2. I like him a lot there. DeAndre Swift at 23. This dude's never finished outside the top 20 in running backs ever, but
it's crazy.
Nobody likes him. Nobody likes him except for me. DeAndre Swift, he's going at 65 in ADP. Yeah. Where's that on the key?
6th.
Middle
round?
Middle of the 6th round. Yeah, for a guy that's never been outside the top 20.
You can sit in your starting lineup all year.
Yeah, if DeAndre Swift's your flex, that's amazing, honestly. He's in one of the best offenses in the league that nobody could shut up about, really. The only concern is that the Kyle Monangai looming.
Who?
Kyle Monangai. Yeah, you know who. No, but seriously, he finished RB15 last year, even with Monangai taking a big bulk of the carries.
He's having a good year in his own right,
I think, barring injury, which you could say for anybody, really.
Right.
Swift should be easily beating his ADP which is currently RB25 on Sleeper.
Yeah, that's really low.
Yeah, that's
really
yeah.
low.
And then I have Judkins at 24 finishing it out. I have him at the bottom of this tier for me just because of the offense he's in. He should be guaranteed a good workload. I think he's a good player. I like him a lot, honestly. The injury obviously sucks, but it happens. And, we could talk about that all day with some of these other guys as well.
Right.
It's really just the offense, though. I just don't know how good I expect the Browns to be.
Yeah.
And it depends, too, how much they use him in the passing game. If he is able to really secure a true, 3-down work role and catch 40, 50 balls, then maybe he can move up. But I'm not sure how much they plan on using someone like Dylan Sampson in that aspect.
Yeah, I would expect them to use Dylan Sampson still. They've invested more reps than draft capital in Sampson, but I mean he's still on the roster. I think that the commentary about the questions about Cleveland's offense is really the players. I'm not
quarterback.
Right. Obviously a lot of it is new, a lot of young players on the team right now, but I'm led to just be a little bit more optimistic with Todd Monken coming in, who's got work experience with probably the best running back we've seen in our time with Derrick Henry in Baltimore, and I think that he should be able to unlock an upside out of Quinshon Judkins. Now maybe that's lofty expectations, but I'm not afraid of taking Judkins and expecting him to be in my lineup all year.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he's at the bottom of this tier for me, but that's just.
But he's in the tier.
But yes, as solid, legit RB2s. Yep, I like that. And then moving on to my next tier, these are guys that are low end RB2s, high end flexes, I would say maybe. And I do start that tier off with Basil Tootin. One of the hardest guys for me to rank.
Yeah.
It's because we just really didn't see much from him. It's a lot of projections with him. I do have him, like I said, at the top of this tier. Who knows? He could even return RB1 production potentially, but he could also be a flex at best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His ADP sounds about right, just given the upside. It's at 60, so it's at the end of the 5th round.
Yep.
Sleeper has him as RB24. I have him as RB25. I guess we'll see. It's really hard to project with a guy like that. But, obviously Liam Cain must trust him enough to not go out there and really get anybody. They did get Chris Rodriguez, and that's probably something I'll talk about later in this episode. But, what do you think about Basil Tootin? I see you got him a little higher than me, I think.
I have him right where Sleeper has him. This entire group from Judkins, Montgomery, Swift, and Tootin, I left it alone in my ranking sheet based on what Sleeper has him at. And I don't know, I didn't have Tootin in any league, so I wasn't completely involved in what he was up to.
He wasn't really worth rostering last season. He finished as RB53.
He had a couple splash moments really where he
was a fun prospect in Dynasty. I remember in rookie drafts last year, I definitely wanted some parts. I didn't get any, but I remember him being kind of a fun prospect.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think it was a 4th round pick.
For me, it comes down to just what situation am I in a draft, because I'm taking pretty much all the guys that we just laid out ahead of Tootin, whereas I feel like there are other people that believe Tootin is embedded in running back 2.
He's definitely one of those guys where there's going to be somebody in your league that thinks they're the smartest guy in the room, and they're going to take Tootin and laugh at all you guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And maybe they're right. I
maybe
mean, it's definitely possible. I'm not, like I said, I'm not afraid of drafting Tootin either. I just would prefer one of these other guys that I feel like we've seen the upside, or at least flashes of the upside, before I go and take a fly. Not even a flyer, but before I take the chance on a guy that is stepping into kind of a high expectation position, really. Because he's replacing ETN, and Chris Rodriguez is not taking over a significant workload. I would be surprised if that were the case, but it's just a matter of whether Tootin can be productive or not.
I don't know if Chris Rodriguez takes over a significant workload. I wouldn't say that. But, even if he steals, the goal line carries, that really just puts, a damper on Tootin's ceiling.
I feel like Tootin was adequate at the goal line as well, so I don't know that there's, I don't know. It's a new ballgame because you've given him, 70% of the workload. So.
I have a hard time thinking that I'll find myself drafting Tootin in the 5th round very often.
Yeah, I'm not reaching for him, so...
But, like I said, given his upside, it makes sense.
Yeah.
After that, I have Jalen Warren at 26.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I like Jalen Warren a lot. He's reminds me of DeAndre Swift in some ways, where it's just he's not really a flashy pick.
Right.
Nobody really talks about him, but he's just consistently a great flex or like our low end RB2.
Yeah.
Last year he finished as RB17. He's currently getting drafted as RB27. I have him at 26. I think he's a safe pick there, and I think with Kenneth Gainwell gone, I know they signed Rico Dowdle, but I think that it kind of could shift him back towards more of a passing role, which Gainwell kind of took some of that last year.
Yeah, you mentioned that 2 weeks ago or so, and it definitely, especially, I'm looking at these rankings based on full PPR, and that's definitely kind of where you see some of the shift back and some of the weight towards him as he's kind of higher on the list.
Yeah.
As being a pass catcher, really. That'll make a huge difference in some of these leagues.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how many passes Aaron Rodgers was throwing to Kenneth Gainwell led Steelers in receptions last year. I'm not saying Jalen Warren's going to do that, but I mean, if he could even get to 80% of that, I'd be pretty happy with that. Given his draft capital here, which is like the 6th round, 7th round.
Yeah, it's 74, so that's
yeah.
7th round, early 7th round.
Yeah, so I like that. I like him a lot. Safe pick right there.
For sure.
And then I have Jadarian Price at 27.
Same.
I have Chuba Hubbard at 28.
You lost me.
Colin Monungai at 29 and RJ Harvey at 30. So RJ Harvey is the biggest faller in this tier for me, given comparison to Sleeper.
Yeah, I've got him falling even further to 33.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I do actually have Dobbins ranked ahead of him in the big scheme of things. I think that backfield is going to belong to Dobbins, and I say belong pretty loosely because Sean Payton never really commits to just one guy.
Yeah, in all reality, I don't want any of these guys.
Yes,
and
that's the underlying.
I hate to say it, but like even me having Harvey where I have him is really just because there's going to be the inevitable J.K. Dobbins injury at some point.
Yeah.
And we saw how well that played out for R.J. Harvey towards the end of last season. But now they have another guy in the room with Jonah Coleman. So in reality, I'm not going to have any of these guys on my team. If I do, it's like Jonah Coleman at the end of the draft maybe. But I don't really want any of those guys. But just given his potential as a receiving back and this might maybe the biggest benefactor of the inevitable J.K. Dobbins injury, I do have him there.
Yeah.
But Jadarian Price, let's talk about him for a second.
For sure.
We really don't know when Charbonnet is coming back at this point. He's going to miss the start of the year. That offense, we do kind of expect them to take a step back after the Super Bowl run. They should still be a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really any competition, I really don't think you draft a guy in the first round to give Emmanuel Wilson and George Holani a lot of touches. So just because of all that, he should be pretty solid at least to start the year. It might get a little murky by week 6, 7, 8, whenever Charbonnet comes back. But I think you could get like legit RB2 production for at least the first 6, 7 weeks of the season, which I think, given his price range, which is ADP of 80, where's that at? 7th round?
Yes.
Yeah. You're getting a solid RB2 for half of the fantasy regular season, at least.
I'm really
with potential for more.
For sure. I'm really struggling with myself because I'm trying to commit to staying away from the Seattle backfield as much as I possibly can, even though it's a new OC, so they might operate a little bit differently. But yeah, Jadarian Price having such low or minimal tread, what am I looking for? He's got so much tread on the tire because he didn't play.
Yeah, low mileage. Low
mileage in college.
He's coming into the league relatively fresh compared to some of these other guys.
Yeah, and I think that gives him a little bit more room for ceiling, really.
Because we didn't really see, there's like questions about how good is Jadarian Price as a pass catcher, because we don't really know, because Jeremiah Love was so amazing in college that we didn't really need to see that from Jadarian Price.
Yeah.
But if he is able to, on top of being the early down runner and goal line guy, but also become kind of a 3-down workhorse running back to at least start his NFL career.
Yeah, I think if that's the case, then we'll see Charbonnet walk in free agency.
Yeah,
honestly.
Exactly. Yeah, and depending on how good he's playing, it's like, is there really gonna be a rush to get Charbonnet back? Are they gonna rush Charbonnet to take half of the touches? He could really be a lot higher than this.
I definitely do like him as a flex option or backup running back option with just high upside and high ceiling.
Yeah, like I said, this tier for me is like flex territory, but with higher ceilings.
Yeah. But if you're drafting him, expecting him to be playing, and you're on your roster all season long, then maybe a slight pivot to someone like Jalen Warren or I've got Tony Pollard ranked right behind him. I think that even though Tony Pollard's a little bit older,
I think if I needed one of these guys to be like my RB2 to start the year because I went wide receiver heavy, I think I could take Jadarian Price at this point and feel good with him for at least the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, then kind of figure it out after that.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like it's kind of unusual that we're going into the. Well, I mean, we have a whole preseason to go, so I'm sure there will be bodies that drop. But
Yeah.
we're going into this process now with really not a lot of running backs to talk about coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
There's Quinshon Judkins, there's Cam Scatabo, but I mean, there's been no question about their availability to start the year. And then the other one is really just Charbonnet.
Yeah, pretty much. I know you scoffed at Chuba Hubbard. I'm assuming that's because you're a big Jonathan Brooks fan.
Who said that?
It might be wishful thinking on your end, but I get it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that I just don't. I mean, it would be awesome for Jonathan Brooks if he were able to actually kind of take some type of huge workload. And I like I said, it might just be wishful thinking. I just really have a hard time banking on a guy that hasn't really done anything. I know it's been injuries, but like, what is he? 2 ACLs now, hasn't done anything in 2 NFL seasons. And I know Chuba had a really down year. I don't know how much of it was on him or just the fact that Rico Dowdle was really just that good that they had no choice but to give Rico Dowdle the ball.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess my take on this is like, how good do you think Rico Dowdle is? Because
Gamecock legend.
Okay. So you think highly of Rico Dowdle?
I mean, I don't think like super highly of him, but there was like a legit month of last year that he was the best running back in the league.
For sure.
For a month.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so my take on Hubbard is like, yeah, I understand they paid him like what 2-3 years ago now.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I think.
But he couldn't keep Dowdle from taking his job. So like, if you're a little bit more like me and like of the mind that Rico Dowdle is essentially just a guy, then I don't really see how Brooks doesn't have as much, if not more, of an opportunity to take that job from Chuba Hubbard with them investing the second round pick in him, granted 2-3 years ago now, and the injury history. But when he was coming into the league, he had some pretty lofty comparisons. And to not...
Yeah, I mean, he was like the highest drafted running back that year,
right,
I think.
Right. And to not have, I mean, I know rehab is different than like workload and like fatigue of the position, but it sounds like in camp that he is healthy. He's looking good, which is just good to see him on the field.
Jonathan Brooks is definitely the more exciting pick of the two, obviously, and I won't argue with that at all. I just think that I'm just trying to be a little realistic, you know?
I hear you.
I mean, I just have a really hard time thinking there's like a world where like Jonathan Brooks is getting like 80% of the touches. Like, you know, I mean, I feel like worst case scenario, it's like 50-50. Like, I have a hard time seeing a scenario where Jonathan Brooks is getting more touches than Chuba Hubbard, like, consistently. Maybe it gets to that point at some point of the season. It's definitely not going to be that to start the year. So, yeah. I mean, I really don't really want either of them, to be honest. But if I were to take one of them, it probably would be Chuba.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have Hubbard currently rated over Brooks on my big list by about 7 spots. So they are relatively close. It's kind of like the Washington backfield, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a few minutes too. But I just think that there is way more upside with Brooks than there is Hubbard.
Yeah.
I feel like Hubbard
I have Brooks written down here too, yeah.
I feel like Hubbard lost his job to a arguably lesser running back, and that the door is wide open now for Brooks. They let Rico Dowdle
Rico
go.
Dowdle lesser than Chuba Hubbard?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's fair. Last person in this category I want to touch on is Kyle Monungai. My dude, I have him at 29, RB33 on Sleeper. Finished RB30 last year. I kind of expect him to maintain a similar role.
Yeah.
Probably one of, if not the best handcuff in
100%,
the league.
100%.
One of the only couple guys that can maintain his own flex value while having the upside to be an RB1 if anything were to happen to Swift.
Right.
And I think that gives him a really good spot here. And if he even gets a little bit more from what he had last year, we could see him rise up. Moving on to this next tier, though, these are just pure flex category guys for me. I have Rico Dowdle actually at 31. If he's able to maintain that goal line role, kind of have that same similar value that we saw with Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren last year. I think that he still does maintain some value, and he has a familiarity with Mike McCarthy from Dallas. He spent a lot of his career there, and I think Mike McCarthy brought him over for a reason.
That's a good point.
I have Tony Pollard at 32. Don't really love that, but he should be entering the season as the RB1 there. We'll see if Nick Singleton's able to do something about that. I don't really expect much from Tyjae Spears, but I think both of us expect the Titans to be a better offense.
Yeah, the passing game should improve.
Pollard should be a benefactor. He finished RB23 last year, so
he had a couple big games.
Yeah,
like 200-yard games maybe. Maybe one?
Something like that. Yeah,
He had like a 2 or 3 week span where he was like kind of.
he had a good finish.
Yeah.
He's like one of like only like 2 or 3 running backs that have had like 1,000 yards the last 4 years, something like that. And I have Blake Corum at 33, similar to Kyle Monangai, somebody that offers flex value in their own right as a backup, but if something were to happen to Kyren Williams, immediately shoots up as an RB1, and I think that's a lot of value there in that. I have Stevenson at 34, Ramondre. I'm not a fan of him, but the Patriots are for some reason, so we'll see how they handle that situation.
It's insane how the Patriots aren't willing to line up on that guy.
Hopefully that they do. I don't know.
It would be a shock if
it's like they do it to spite me.
Just do.
Kenneth Gainwell at 35 for me, just because of his passing role in that system. If he's able to, I don't expect him to have 70 catches like he did last year, but even if he can get to 50, that should give him at least a good floor as a flex. And then I have J.K. Dobbins at 36 to round it out. Probably not really taking him, but he was a pretty good player for the first 10 weeks last year before he gets injured. If you're able to just kind of accept the fact that you're not going to get a full season out of him, but you're cool with taking like a solid like 8 weeks from him as like a potential RB2. Again, this is like a guy like Jadarian Price, where maybe if I'm
100%.
hurting at running back, I could take a guy like J.K. Dobbins and know that I might not get a great player all season, but I'll get
a
good player.
Yeah,
exactly. And he is guaranteed a role there, I do think. So that's how I rounded out my top 36. After that, I just have some names written down of guys that are going after round 10 that I personally like or would at least be targeting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a couple guys that I know you wrote down a little more than me. So
yeah. So I wrote down all the way through top 50, but there are only a few handful of guys, and for whatever it's worth, I feel like the back half of that last year that you just went over, I'm probably just punting on most of those guys. Like there will be room for Kenneth Gainwell, but I don't know that I'm really interested in grabbing him. Blake Corum, unless I have Kyren Williams, like I'm not interested in grabbing a piece of that.
It would take specific roster construction for some of these guys.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But as we go to a little bit further down the list, obviously I mentioned Jonathan Brooks, who I have ranked at 39, which I will probably end up moving up a little bit over the course of this the preseason. Just maybe assuming that he plays well on Thursday, which we're very, very I'm excited to see if they put John Brooks on the field at all, honestly.
I'm looking at Trevor Etienne.
Yeah, no.
Real deep dynasty stash.
Yeah, we'll see if he can usurp Hubbard. But another name that's going past the 10th round in these drafts is a guy that I think could potentially take a lead running back role in Rachaad White in Washington.
Yeah, I actually have him at the top of this post round 10 list.
Yeah, so another name that I think I just kind of rated as low as 38, which is where I have him, just because of I didn't want to shake this list up too much going into the preseason games. Obviously, the preseason will kind of tell us a little bit more and shift some things. But coming onto a team that really didn't do anything other than him at the running back. I mean, they brought in like Jerome Ford. They didn't do anything to establish a singular like lead running back. Chris Rodriguez is gone. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who is last year's punchline at the draft, still there, but
damn, punchline.
He was definitely a punchline, brother. Come on.
For us.
Yeah, for us. But he's very clearly like a receiving back, and I think that there is no obstacles in his path of becoming the receiving back on that team.
I think that there's lots of question marks at the running back position there, whether it's Kaytron Allen, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but there is one thing that's pretty much guaranteed, and that is that Rachaad White will be their third down back.
In any PPR format, he will
catch 50 passes. Yeah. So I think that alone gives him some value. He's going at RB41 on Sleeper.
Yeah, 11th round. I'm comfortable taking him in the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, if he's you could take him as your 4th or 5th running back, and I think you're going to get like RB3 flex value realistically.
If he's your 5th running back, I think you're doing great.
Yeah, I do have Jonathan Brooks written down, and then a few guys that I highlighted that I like. I do like Chris Rodriguez. He's going as RB46, going in like what was that, the 12th round, I believe.
12th round, yep.
Yeah, I don't love either him or Basil Tutin, but if you have to give me one of them, and I get one of them, 7 rounds later, and that one is more than likely the one that's going to get the goal line touches, I'm okay with taking that as my RB5 or maybe even RB6. I think that he could potentially return flex value.
Yeah.
Whereas we're drafting Tutin to get flex value, hoping for more, where I could draft this guy in round 12, and if I have to cut him week 4, I don't care.
Yeah.
But he could be getting flex value. Keaton Mitchell, a guy that we've talked about a lot. I really like Keaton Mitchell. I think that his ceiling is pretty high. in terms of his talent, maybe not necessarily the situation, but even if he's able to get some of the passing down work, even if he gets like 30% of the touches, I'd be really happy with that in what we expect to be a high-powered offense.
For sure.
And then Nick Singleton. He's getting drafted, what is 176? I don't even know, like the 15th round?
15th round.
Yeah. RB's 57. He could be absolutely nothing, and very well could be.
Yeah.
But we've seen Brian Dable take fifth-round pick running backs before, whether that's like Devin Singletary or Tyrone Tracy or Cam Scadaboo, and have success with them over aging vets. And there is a world where Nick Singleton is the starting running back on that team by like week 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And in that world, I think you're getting an amazing return in the 15th round. And a guy that, again, I could take him there, and if it's week 4 or 5 and he's not even seeing the field, I cut him and don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
So I'm totally cool with that. And last 2 dart throws I wrote down, Sean Tucker, RB63. I just think there's a world where something happens to Bucky because he wasn't able to stay on the field last year and hasn't really been able to stay on the field besides his rookie season.
Yeah. And Gainwell's not really
and Gainwell is just not,
quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Handoff,
in that situation, Sean Tucker immediately takes over early down and goal line work. And in an offense that we expect to be a little better this year, I think that could be really valuable. And Damon Claiborne, last guy, not really even getting drafted in every league. He's RB71. Just a guy that offers a lot of juice to a running back room that doesn't really have any, with an aging Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, who's a little bit of a clunker. Yeah. Who knows what happens with Damon Claiborne, but I do like the upside potential, even if he's able to just kind of take some passing down work. If there was to be an injury to Jordan Mason or Aaron Jones, too, I think that he could step in right away and, like I said, add some juice to that room.
Yeah, another quick one or two I want to drop real fast. Tank Bigsby, backup running back for Philly. I think that if you have Saquon Barkley, you absolutely need to handcuff him.
Fair.
I think Tank Bigsby is probably one of the higher upside backups if something were to happen to a starting running back. Part of that is just the offensive line in Philly and the way that their GM operates. He's always prepared for any potential hole to pop up, and I think Tank Bigsby could fill in the Saquon Barkley role, not seamlessly, but pretty well.
He had some pretty
very high
games last year,
for sure.
Very limited roles.
And then the last one I had to mention, it's your boy. I'm surprised you didn't mention him. Alvin Kamara restructured his contract to stay with New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, what's his ADP?
He's going as running back 52. Yeah. ADP is 157, so that's the 13-14 turn.
He'll beat that for sure.
In a PPR setting, he's a pass-catching running back. Yeah. Travis Etienne is there now, but outside of Etienne, I could see them splitting time on the field. Devin Neal was not intimidating. Audric Estime played a couple games. Those guys don't really factor in when it comes to the pecking order. I think Kamara will outplay RB52 this year.
100%. Totally agree. I don't know if he has the ceiling of some of these other guys.
No, probably not.
For me personally, in some of these last rounds, I like to take some dart throws. But yeah, Kamara will 100%. If you're hurting, he could fill in on a flex for sure.
For sure.
I'd agree with that. So wrapping up the running backs, next week we'll be touching on wide receivers and hopefully talking about Carson Beck's amazing game. I just jinxed it. He's going to do terrible now.
We'll talk about Jonathan Brooks' -3 yards on 2 touches.
His fumble. As always, thanks for listening. Good luck and go Bills.
Go Bills.